You're hanging out in the House of Sunny podcast, where it's always sunny, mostly because of your host, comedian and YouTuber, Sunny Lohman. Want to know what Sunny and her friends are thinking about this week? Well, here she is, Sunny Lohman.
Hey everybody, it's Sunny Lohman. Welcome to my new podcast, the House of Sunny podcast. I've restarted my podcast. It's going to be a little different than the other podcast. If you're a fan of that show, the You Know I'm Right show. We used to do interviews and do some jokes and things and games. This is going to be more like a conversation, and I'm going to have an interviewee every time, and we're going to have some fun. Today, the interviewee is going to be me, because you guys have a lot of questions, and so I've got my sidekick here, Doug, from the Rational Capitalist blog. He's going to ask me some questions, and then later on, we're going to do some news headlines with Ashley. We got Ashley with us, and she'll be reading the news a little bit later. But she'll pipe in here and there as things come up when we talk about the subjects that we talk about with Doug. You can call the show at 707-681-5834 and leave a voice message. And we might play it on the air and make fun of it. So that would be a good reason to leave one. But also you can leave questions or news stories you want me to talk about. Give me suggestions. You can leave those suggestions on my Facebook page, Sunny Lohman. You can also email me at hos@houseofsunny.tv and let us know what you guys want us to talk about. We definitely want your participation. This will also be video recorded, and I'm going to put it out on YouTube. So you can get that there as well. It's going to be on my channel, House of Sunny. So you can support the show by sharing this podcast, the videos. You can go to Patreon. We're launching a Patreon today also. And you can become a monthly funder. And I've got some hopefully great rewards on there for you guys. And if you can think of something you want that's not on there, let me know. I'll put it on because it's for you. I did it for you guys. I mean, I did it for me, but the rewards are for you guys. So you should like them. You can go subscribe to my YouTube channel, House of Sunny. Go to Facebook, like my page, Sunny Lohman, and you can also just donate to me on my website, HouseofSunny.tv. But I think the best way to do that now is through Patreon because you get stuff. You get stuff in return. So that's going to be fun. So now I've got Doug here, and I'm going to answer some of the questions that came up on Facebook and other places. Hey, Doug.
Yes. Hello. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good.
Excited to do the podcast. Back
Likewise.
to work. Excited to be back to work.
Right. Well, so I think the main question is, where have you been?
Right. Yeah. So that's like by far the most popular question. I've been sick. I said that in a post a year and a half ago. I stopped making videos and I'm like, I'm sick. I can't work right now. And it has been up and down. There have been better months, worse months. But when I've been feeling well, I've put my energy into my family. I have a young child, so I kind of had to do that. And I also kind of had a major breakthrough like a couple of months ago that's making me feel like I can work again. I found out that I was this whole time really, really anemic, which makes you really, really tired. And I thought that it was just this underlying illness I'm dealing with that made me super tired. And it turned out that I was really just anemic, which is an easy fix. You just get a little iron infusion. I got a few iron infusions, and within a month I was feeling so much better. And it's really because of that I'm working again. And now I know to like monitor that. But I'm currently even still kind of sick, and there's a vanity reason too. I don't want to make videos because I've been up and down on this steroid medicine called prednisone to keep me in remission. I have an autoimmune disease, so that's a really common drug used for autoimmune conditions. And it makes my face blow up. So I look like a 350-pound woman. Like I have the face of a 350-pound woman on a 125-pound body.
What's wrong with that?
It's a good look. You know, I might make it fashionable is what,
yeah.
Right?
I think it's kind of hot.
I could start a trend. Anyway. You want to suck on my double chin? It's so hot.
I think that's a whole like website genre, isn't it?
there probably is a fetish for that. Somebody really
fetish.
likes that, man. Somebody is like, "Ooh, I love your double chin, baby." I gotta tap into that because it definitely doesn't make me feel great having this double chin. But it's more than just a double chin. It's like a wide cheeks and stuff. And people who are watching this on YouTube can see. You can see that my face is puffy. And hopefully the next couple of weeks it'll go back down again. It's just like I'm on a dose now that makes the face blow up, and then you go down and your face goes back to normal. And then a month later I have to go back on this stupid medicine, and I can't like look decent. And so I've been kind of vain about it. But, I did some of my best work 5-6 years ago when I was hospitalized, and I came out of the hospital and I was same thing on Pred, and my face was huge. And I made probably my 2 favorite comedy videos then, the Demand a Plan parody and the American Journalist one, where I pretend to be a journalist who's upset because she can't blame the Boston terrorist attack on the Tea Party.
Yeah, that was a good one.
And my face is huge in both of those videos from prednisone. And I just like did it anyway. Nobody cares how I look. Like they just want it to be funny. So it's hard for me to, I'm just not, you want to look like yourself. It's more that. It's not like, oh, I'm so gorgeous or something. I don't look like me. I feel like I look, but it's better now. 2 weeks ago, I was on double the dose. And when it's that bad, I can't even see out my eyes. My face is so puffy that like my already small eyes become like these little slits. And I feel like I can't see. So it's better now than it was a couple weeks ago. And So
if you go down in weight from being off the Pred, do people comment that it looks like you've lost weight? Does that irritate you that they think you were fat, or are you happy that they have acknowledged that you're skinny now?
I don't want anyone to think that I ever was fat. Ever.
That takes priority.
Ashley, what do you say about that? Is that is that a girl thing?
No.
Girls don't want to have ever been fat. We never have. Just if we were fat, just avert your eyes.
Yeah, don't look at me.
Pretend it never happened. If we've lost weight and we look great, just be like, you look great.
Yes.
Never say, you've lost a bunch of weight.
Aren't they secretly thinking, why is he telling me I look great now?
Yeah,
Didn't I look great before?
Yeah, he didn't tell me 6 months ago I looked great.
So he thinks I'm fat. He thinks I was fat.
He thinks I was fat. Yes. And that's a really big bummer for us. Right?
So really just men should not talk to women.
Well, I think Harvey Weinstein has proven that.
Well, he does more than talk.
Give me a massage. Give me a massage, baby. I'll give you a massage. I'll give you a massage. I'm really good at them.
Yeah, that's pretty creepy. It's a pretty creepy.
I have several Me Too stories. I have so many Me Too stories. And I just think, you know what? If you're a woman among men, there are just dicks out there. And not to use dick as like a...
Literally.
There are literally dicks out there.
There are literally tons of dicks out there.
Okay, let me rephrase.
Yeah, let's use a different.
There are tons. There are assholes too. Dicks and assholes. In other words, there are gay people, and I'm just kidding. All right, let's regroup.
Moving on.
But I do have these Me Too stories. I just think that there are jerks out there, and the question becomes, what do you do? Like, what do you tell your daughter? How do you handle it when these guys act like this? And there's a couple of things from the story that I've thought about. And one is that I think that people should speak out and they should take the risk, the career risk, whatever the risk is, take the risk. I think if you don't speak out or you don't come to the defense of women who have spoken out, it kind of will kill something in your soul. Like you really do have to stand up for what's right. And like, it just reminds me of when I grew up in a bad neighborhood, and I had many instances where I was being bullied. And there are a couple instances where I didn't really fight back. I just kind of slunk away. And it was a moment when I could have fought back, and I should have, like, in order to sort of I should have, And self-respect, absolutely. And I didn't. And I'm now old, and I still think about it. Like I remember those incidents. And so in a smaller way or maybe even a bigger way, especially if you've been raped. My God, who cares about your career? Bury that guy, you know? But clearly a lot of women were speaking out about Weinstein, and there's this orbit around him that was protecting him. And, you know, because there were lawsuits and all kinds of things. So women were speaking out, and shame on the people who weren't doing anything about it, especially the men around him. If you're an upstanding guy, God, shame on you. How could you let all these women be in that situation and not defend them? Like, guys, that's your job, right?
Yeah, and there were men and women, you know, and there's a new article out that Ronan Farrow wrote, a follow-up to his New Yorker, about essentially like an army of spies, or I guess you'd call them private investigators, spies, whatever, ex-Mossad agents, people. I mean, he had a serious legion of fixers around him that would go out and spy on these women and spy on journalists, and
gross.
it's just amazing.
I had a guy meet me in a bar after office hours, just across the street from the office. This is a guy I'd known for a couple of years. He was the partner in a firm that I worked with, and I had quit and was now doing freelance work. And through his secretary, who was a good friend of mine, I asked her to ask him, like, does he have any work? Would he talk to me about like doing some analysis for him and stuff? I was a financial analyst at the time. And he's like, oh yeah, he's got some work. He'll meet you at 6 at, you know, this place. And this is a place that we, like, the little small company I was with, we used to go there all the time. So it's not like I felt he wants to meet me in a bar. Like, that wasn't weird, you know? And it was just across from the office and so on. So I met with him, and he was just a total Harvey Weinstein. I mean, he literally said, like, I'm reading some of the reports of the Harvey Weinstein and the things that he said. And this guy said the exact same things to me. The exact same things. Asking inappropriate questions about my sex life. He said, I have work for you, but you have to travel with me and stay in the same hotel as me. Like, same hotel room as me. And I said,
that's a red flag.
Well, obviously when he said that, I was like, well, no, this meeting's over. Goodbye. But the first thing he did was just ask me inappropriate questions. Like, I mean, he was feeling me out. Like, is she going to storm out of here? Or,
right.
She, you know, he said something like, how often do you masturbate, or something like that?
Oh my, that's a good icebreaker.
Yeah. And then I was like,
for an after
I was like, what?
Meeting.
I said, that's none of your, I was like, what? That's none of your business. What are you talking about, or something? And then right after that, he said, I have work for you, but it's this arrangement. In other words, he's going to pay me. And he was a married dude with kids and stuff, you know? Wow. And then I have another one where, like, a guy that I worked with got my phone number out of HR after I quit. This was a guy, my manager. He got my phone number, my new phone number, because I just moved or something like that, and started harassing me at home. Like, calling my phone, and my boyfriend would answer, and he'd go, this is back when we had, like, actual phones. You know,
phones
landlines.
Tethered to the wall.
Right. Well, it was cordless, but, you know, it wasn't a smartphone. So, you know, a house, a home, an apartment would have a phone. And he called my phone, and, like, my boyfriend would pick it up, and then he'd say, Sunny there. I'd pick it up, and he'd say, who was that? Like, we were, like, going out. Wow. He was so creepy, and he stalked me, and I had to change my phone number. So this shit is just part of being a girl. It's just part of being a girl. You can't stop it. It's like, trying to stop it is like trying to have the socialist utopia. It's just not going to happen. So then you just have to say, what should women do and what should people do? People should speak out. People need to take career risks. And it's the same with being a Republican or a right-sider. We need to speak out. We need to speak against the progressives and the postmodernists, even at risk of our careers. And I'm not really suggesting like falling on our swords all the time and stuff, but I was just listening to a video by Jordan Peterson the other day. It was actually a free speech summit put on by the Ayn Rand Institute. Jordan Peterson was there, and he was saying this, and he's right. Like, I remember when I was in college, people were telling me, don't rock the boat with these professors, with these leftist professors. Just get through it, write your papers, tell them what they want to hear, and get out and get your paper, get your document, and get into the real world. And Jordan Peterson was saying, no, stand up, fight, speak out. And if you pay the price, you pay the price. That's the price of being good. Morality and being moral doesn't actually not have a price. Sometimes you pay a price. But the long-term consequence is that you have integrity, you like yourself, you have self-esteem. You don't pay that soul price by burying who you are and burying what you think. And you get out of college and you get into the work environment, and it's the same thing there. You have to be quiet. You can't talk about politics, or you might get fired or whatever. And all of this putting up with it is what's gotten us where we are. And we have to stop putting up with it and speak out and take the risks. Take the career risks. That's my opinion on that. Or the grade risks if you're in college. And one of the reasons that he says that too is because it's going to get worse. It's going to get much worse. And now speaking out, you can still speak out. You might lose your job, or you might, lose some money, opportunities or something, but it's going to get worse. Eventually it's going to be, we're in jail if we speak out. So while we still can, we need to speak out so that we don't end up in the position where we can't speak out or we're in jail. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think it's amazing too how famous someone like Jordan Peterson has become, and others, just for really speaking out. I mean,
right. Just having the courage. Milo Yiannopoulos, Jordan Peterson in particular, Gad Saad, Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro is different, but probably Jordan Peterson in particular. Just standing up and speaking out. Brett Weinstein, is that the guy's name from Evergreen College?
Yeah.
Anyone standing up is now becoming famous, and that's great.
Just saying, I have a right to speak my mind.
Yeah, I have a right not to be banished from campus because I'm white.
That gives you like 10 million views.
Yeah, that's like extraordinary courage to say that. Unbelievable. I love this new movement. By the way, have you seen this new movement going around this? It's okay to be white.
Yes.
I love this.
That's funny.
I ordered a t-shirt that says it's okay to be white. With that
Did Milo start that?
No. It's the same generic font, it's okay to be white, that you're seeing on these signs. The t-shirt. And you can actually get that on Milo's store. That's where I bought mine. I think he's the only one making the t-shirts. Because of course he is. Because he's such an opportunist. Which is fine with me. I'm like happy to give him my $20 for the t-shirt. If he's got the gumption to put it onto a t-shirt, great. But no, it was started on some 4chan thing where it was just like a funny joke. And it was a spoof in Boston in Cambridge. So they were going to hang these signs up and see what the left did, like basically wind the left up.
Right.
And of course they just took the bait. And you can't say it's okay to be white. Like it's such a mild mannered statement.
Right.
It's not like, oh yeah, white people, yeah, or anything like that. It's just like, it's okay to be white. Like, it's not white lives matters. It's nothing like, particularly reactionary or in your face. It's just, it's okay to be white. Statement. It's okay. And you can't even say that. So now I saw a picture the other day, like someone wrote it on a $20 bill. And now, it's going to be on Post-it notes at gas stations. I just love this. It's okay to be white. It's okay to be white. I agree with that. I think it's okay to be white.
Yeah, you're going on quite a limb.
Yeah, right.
Making that statement.
Woohoo! We're controversial now.
Yeah, you might get banned.
Yeah. So anyway, that's where I've been. So I've been sick, just to get back to that original topic. I've been sick. I've been up and down on Pred. I've had no energy because I was anemic and didn't even know it, like severely anemic. And it was so sucky. And every little bit of energy I had, I just put into my daughter because she's a little girl, tiny person who needs her mommy. And I just didn't have anything left for work or really much else. So that's kind of where I've been. But things are better. And so I'm really glad to be back. I'm glad to have this podcast starting. We're going to do this weekly. And like I said, I have this video coming out. Oh, I want to talk about that because people have been asking about that. I've been teasing that I'm working on a video. So I'll tell you a little bit more about it. It's a spoof on Antifa, and I'm ready to go. The script is done. My costume is ready. All I have to do is film it and edit it. And instead, my time has been put into this podcast and getting this all set up and ready to go. So now that we get this out, then I can switch my attention to that, and that will be my project over the next couple of weeks. So that should be fun. I hope I get it out, before the end of November. And so that's exciting to do a comedy video again. I'm really excited about that. And this podcast will be fun. Even, when I'm doing the comedy videos and stuff, I just long for some sort of forum where I can just talk about what's going on, current issues. And that's why I'm doing the podcast too, because I have shit to say, man. I have stuff to say about what's going on, and it's fun to talk about it and put it out there. And hopefully you guys will like it too.
Well, speaking of things to say, besides all your lame excuses about being sick and being a mother and all that other stuff, I was going to say, not much has really happened in the world since
it's been really quiet.
have been sick. It's been a very quiet period
Picture this.
in American history.
Picture how frustrating that is for me. Like, I mean, I'm a comedian. Like, I want to do comedy, and some of the craziest stuff is happening. The craziest stuff. And I'm just like, I can't do anything with it. I mean, it's not like I didn't have ideas. I just couldn't actually put the time and effort into manifesting a video or doing anything like that. So I had great ideas, but I have a book of freaking great ideas from the last year and a half with nothing came of it. And,
well, what are you seeing from other people on the right on social media?
Yeah, I think that they're great. I watch them. It's exciting. I think that they're getting better and better at what they do. Like Ben Shapiro's show is getting more and more professional. Jordan Peterson's incredible. And he's so good at appealing to people's values. Like, I think he's great with young people. In the same way that, like, Ron Paul was great with young people, there's just this way that Jordan Peterson's like this old, nerdy dude. And yet young people just want to hear him talk. Because he has answers to, like, their lives and how they can be happy and live a good life. And he's not preachy about it. He's great.
He appeals to a sense of idealism.
Yeah, he really does.
He's not just an economics guy or something like that. He's very
and he's a psychologist. So, I mean, it doesn't surprise me that he's good at that. But I mean, he's so honest and such a great personality. And then you've got Gad Saad. He's great. Another professor I believe he's like a professor of sociology of some kind. And he's wonderful. There's a lot of really exciting people on YouTube. Gavin McInnes. I love him. He's so funny. Co-founder of Vice. And he's got a show on CRTV now. The usual suspects like Steven Crowder, who's also getting more and more professional. I feel like money is flowing into these guys now. They're selling memberships and stuff. I mean, money really helps because then you can hire people, you can get more content out. And these people are being more and more supported. Jordan Peterson has a lot of money. He's got a Patreon account. And so that's
Are there
great.
any major funding sources for these types of platforms, or are they pretty much just doing this from the ground up?
I think ground up. I think so. Although, like somebody like Dave Rubin, I think he got some initial funding. I mean, Jordan Peterson's just been making videos on the side as a professor for a long time.
Right.
And it wasn't until he challenged the Canadian law, the transgender stuff, that people became aware of him. So, and I think Gad Saad, he puts on his little headphones and does a Skype interview with people and puts it on YouTube. So it's pretty basic.
He's a brilliant guy. It's interesting too that none of these guys are really that friendly to Trump. I mean, it's not like these guys are Trump guys. In fact, Ben Shapiro really dislikes Milo. So I think it's interesting that they all have different views, and actually, it's just that the Trump phenomena has emboldened them or given them a platform, because it's put the left in such a kind of violent position, in such a extreme position relative to them.
Trump has been good in exposing the crazy on the left, and therefore, the commentary on the right is probably just more valuable. People are willing to pay for it. I don't know. So yeah, it's good. I think it's some good trends.
What about some of these social media platforms trying to shut down or stifle the right? I mean, there's been some really notorious cases lately of people getting just absolutely shut down, like Pamela
Yeah,
Geller's
that's scary. That's really
account.
scary because as these people are gaining in popularity, I mean, everybody popular has been shut down somewhere. So, and I have to deal with that too. I mean, I was setting up my Patreon going, am I going to get kicked off this? And the only reason I went forward with it was I found out that I could have access to my patrons' emails. So with that, I feel like I can keep a list and I'm not going to lose everybody, all the work you do to market and get people drawn over to that site and to donate to you and everything. And then if they shut you down, you lose all that effort. And, I'm primarily on YouTube and Facebook. And so it's a possibility. YouTube is demonetizing videos. They've demonetized some of my videos. And there's an appeal process, but,
Good luck with that.
People with a lot more clout with YouTube, like with hundreds of millions of fans are getting demonetized. And they're not, and those videos are not being reinstated.
Dennis Prager is suing YouTube, I believe.
Yeah, I don't really agree with that lawsuit, but I don't know. I'd have to think about it.
Well, if you hold yourself out, if your policy holds itself out as being open to all, and someone builds their business around it, I think you might have a good case.
I think you have a case for, yeah, absolutely. I think you have a good case in that sense, but that's not what he's suing them for. He's trying to do antitrust stuff. Okay. And then Pam Geller is suing Facebook or I don't know, somebody else, same thing, Google, I don't know. And I don't really agree with those lawsuits because I don't agree with antitrust stuff. But at the same time, I do think that they pretend to be unbiased and they really are really biased. And so, yeah, you put all this effort and time and work into what you're doing and then you end up with, nothing.
Right.
I think you could sue for that. In the context of
this kind of a war where we're fighting for free speech, I think you almost have to use any legal avenue available to try and push back on this, I would think.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that.
Mm-hmm. What do you think of just mainstream comedy right now? We've seen even the late night talk shows now have been completely taken over by sort of leftist propaganda to some extent. I mean, some are less political than others, but obviously Stephen Colbert is just unrelenting. But even
I don't know. I think it's good news and bad news. I think that the left is killing their comedy, and you can see this in take Amy Schumer's new special that came out some months ago. It was terrible, and she's good, but she has become a social justice warrior comedian. And as a result, now she has to be so careful about what she says, that her comedy has gone from being really funny and edgy and true. Comedy has to walk that line. It's not funny unless it's right on that edge of offensive. It has to surprise you and offend you just a little bit.
Right.
Not all comedy is like that, but a lot of comedy is like that. And her comedy was like that. Like the joke that she apologized for about the Mexican boyfriend raping her or something like that was so funny. It was a really, really funny joke. And she apologized for that. And that was the beginning of the end of her being funny because she can't be now. Now she's doing all this self-censoring. And when you're a comedian, you really just have to let it out. You have to be bold, and you can't have a little voice inside your head saying, oh, I can't say that, or I can't do that. Or you're not going to come up with any jokes at all. And then Trevor Noah sucks. I mean, contrast him with Jon Stewart, who I think was much more clever, and he actually tried to come up with jokes. They had real jokes at The Daily Show. Now they just have, ha, 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 punchline is, that dumb Republican. It's not funny. And their audience is laughing, but it's actually not objectively funny humor. And the same thing goes for the late night. And that's not to say all the time. Like in a 10-minute monologue, Trevor Noah might have a funny joke. But Jon Stewart used to have you laughing wave after wave after wave in a 7-8 minute monologue, like a good comedian does. And he just, he sucks. I don't know, what is it, Samantha Bee? She is even worse. And now then the mainstream late night talk show hosts, they do the same stuff, and SNL does the same stuff. So it's not funny. It only appeals to a certain audience. It's not actually objectively funny. And therefore, the good news is that there's a big, huge gap in the market for comedy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the subversive comedy, the real comedy, the edgy comedy is all going to be on the right. And that's where the young kids are going to go when that happens. It's going to be a magnet for youth. So I feel like we're on the cusp of some major, major cultural shift. And maybe this iGen they call it. Somebody posted on my Facebook the other day a picture of Lenny Bruce. And the person who posted that, I think they were a Democrat on my Facebook profile. And, it was a comedian that I know, and it's a picture of Lenny Bruce. And I'm thinking, that guy challenged authority. He was arrested. He wasn't allowed to say these things. And look at what the left is today. Look at the pansy asses, the fear. I mean, Jimmy Kimmel, all those guys, what they're doing is safe. SNL, everything they do is safe. And you can't tell me every single comedian there doesn't think of, for 8 years, they never once thought of a joke against Obama because they never actually had one. Right. I never heard a joke against Obama for 8 years.
I didn't either.
But they had one. And the few that trickled out at the beginning, those comedians got slammed for being racist.
Right.
So that ended that.
It's almost an inversion of what happened, when you think of the 50s and the sort of mainstream comedy, and you had people like Lenny Bruce and people like George Carlin and others were kind of a counterculture backlash to that. And now it's gone completely the other way, where the left is the authority and
so my
is
prediction
oppressive.
Is that it's turning, and that because of that, the censors, the prudes, the preachers, the people telling us what to do are all these progressives. And the backlash is gonna happen. And people on campuses, they like Milo, they like Gavin McInnes, they like, there's some exciting stuff happening. So that's what I think about that.
You're even seeing some fracturing on the left too, like people like Bill Maher, for example, who is, I think, consistently anti-religion, particularly, anti-Muslim, and recognizes the fear and the danger of Islam. Yeah. And yet he's being attacked by, progressives on the left who.
Bill Maher is centrist now. It's just crazy.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It's just absolutely nuts. So
or someone like even a non-comedian like Alan Dershowitz, who, is attacking the left for shutting down ACLU lectures.
It's pushing the best people on the left to the right. The classical liberals, the people who actually care about people, and it's leaving the people who are just full of envy and resentment and bitterness and violence. That's all that's going to be left on the left. And they're not going to win. I feel like there's a spirit in this country, thankfully. Don't tell me what to do. There's a pushback on that. So we'll see what happens. But definitely in terms of comedy, I think this is a good sign, because it's sort of like it's peaked. And they're not funny anymore. And it's not funny. It's just objectively not funny. I never agreed with Jon Stewart. He has completely different politics than I do. And I would watch that show and laugh my ass off. And now, so I'm saying I'm totally, as somebody who's kind of just into jokes, I'm capable of laughing at humor, political humor that espouses an opinion that I don't agree with. And there's just no comedy left. They're not even funny. Just take Alec Baldwin and his Trump impersonation. That is the worst Trump impersonation It is so horrible.
Yeah.
Like, go practice it. Alec Baldwin is a talented guy. He's done so much good. He's usually really funny on SNL, and they've just glommed onto him and this impersonation that sucks. It's not good. I saw a freaking 8-year-old boy on a video on Facebook the other day that had a better Trump impression than Alec Baldwin.
Yeah.
He went as Trump for Halloween, and I saw the video, and it was hilarious, and it was perfect. Alec Baldwin sucks at it, but SNL puts him on every weekend doing this Trump impersonation. It's not good.
Yeah, and it's really just inane and vitriolic too. It's not like it's not deep at all.
It's not deep. It's not clever. It's just become like na boo boo. Like, I'm just gonna punch you in the face. Ha ha ha. That's funny.
Yeah,
it's not funny. It's not clever. So they're gonna lose, and they're gonna lose audience, and they're gonna lose maybe even a generation of people because the counterculture is now us.
That's inspirational, I think, too. It's amazing how what a dearth of comedians there are on the right. I mean, it seems like that whole area is wide open.
Yeah, it's going to change, though. I mean, I think part of the problem, and I can speak from experience, there's just no infrastructure. And I think there are probably comedians on the right, but they're doing the regular stand-up or the regular comedy. They're not being political because they're afraid of their careers. I mean, I was just watching a guy, Owen Benjamin. He is a regular comedian, gaining in stardom. He's really funny. His shows are sold out. People love him. He got like a True TV gig or something recently. And then he said something on Twitter that you shouldn't drug a 3-year-old. You shouldn't stop a 3-year-old from developing into the sex that they were born with. Like, excuse me, I put a lozenge in because
that's heresy.
So the guy's just saying a 3-year-old? No, like that is wrong. And he got attacked on Twitter for that. Because some NPR muckety muck is raising their tiny, tiny child as a transgender child. Because at 3, that boy child wanted to wear a dress.
Oh my God.
And the guy's like, you're freaking crazy. Well, he lost his manager. He lost his agent. He lost his True TV gig. He lost his whole freaking career. And now he's having to come out as like, well, okay, now he's on Dave Rubin show. He's on Joe Rogan. He's like doing the rounds of all this sort of libertarian right-wing, right-wing-ish shows because that's the only people who talk to him now. So there you have a comedian on so the more that this happens though, the bigger our little club gets. Now that guy's on our side.
Yeah.
He's done. He's lost everything he could have had. He has nothing to lose now. And he's a funny, funny guy, mainstream comedian who's now totally firmly on the right. Good job, left. Good job, postmodernists. Keep doing that. Seriously, I want them to keep doing that.
Anyone who's original and anyone who's independent-minded is going to come over. I mean...
That's right. And anybody, seriously, and it's not just intelligence because I think that comedians are some of the smartest people. You have to, and I'm, tooting my own horn here. You have to be smart to come up with jokes. It's freaking hard. I don't think anybody is a comedian that's stupid that actually can write a good joke. So there are a lot of smart people, but yeah, I think they're afraid. And this guy lost his whole career in like a week. And so there's good reason to be afraid. They have all the infrastructure. But the more people that come over to our side, the more infrastructure we'll have. The more then you can groom people. You can have money and funds. And like if I'm doing this Patreon, I've got plans. What I want to do is I'm going to do the podcast now. I've got some comedy videos coming. I'll do those as I get them done. And then ultimately, like if I can get some money, I want to do a weekly news show and some other stuff. Now, let's say that in a year or 2 years or whatever, I've got a nice studio and I'm doing these regular shows and I'm fan funded and I'm stable. I can bring in other talent.
Right.
I know people who are funny. I know young kids who are funny that could use some grooming and some help in a studio, and they don't have the equipment. They don't have any money. They don't have any confidence yet. So, nobody has reached down and grabbed my hand. So all of this is kind of like me and it's because we just don't have the infrastructure. There's nobody on the right that has a studio that I can just go film in.
I hear Harvey Weinstein is looking for some new projects.
Well, I don't know what to say.
In fact, there's a lot of producers in Hollywood that are now going to be looking for new projects.
I don't like the price I'd have to pay for the Golden Globe that I'd win. I don't.
Oh, well, yeah, but you wouldn't have to talk about it for 10 or 15 years. Just let it ride.
Yeah. Just pretend like it's not happening. All right. What's next? What's the next last question? Then we can move on to some news, maybe.
Well, I think that's it. Let's move on to news.
All right.
You're okay with that.
All right, Ashley, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Listening the whole time. Okay, let's do news. We only have a couple of news stories, so let's get to those.
Senator Paul attacked over trivial dispute, not political, says attorney of accused attacker. An assault of the U.S. Senate Rand Paul by the longtime next-door neighbor was not motivated by political differences, but by a dispute I
can hear your dog barking. Is that your dog, Ashley?
He's in the basement.
I thought you were supposed to murder your dogs before this podcast. You're
right.
supposed to.
That was one of the conditions in the contract.
You were going to put their heads underwater, and so they couldn't bark.
I promised they're downstairs, but yeah. I have a dachshund, and he's barky.
Yeah.
Dogs are known to be barky.
Dogs bark.
Yes.
That's it.
Dogs bark.
You probably should have just fed him so much food. Like a huge pile of bacon or something. I don't know.
Doggy a coma. Wipe him out. Most people find it trivial. The attorney... I can't even think. Do you want me to go strangle him?
Yeah. All right. I will finish this news. So
yes.
The attack on Senator Rand Paul, when that first came out, I'm like, this is going to end up being personal. This was this guy's neighbor for 17 years or something like that. And he was a doctor too. And I'm like, neighbors are crazy. Neighbors are freaking crazy. I've had some of the nuttiest neighbors. And when we still don't know if the guy hit him with a bat, or I guess he tackled him. Did he punch him? 5 broken ribs, bruised lungs.
That's crazy.
Rand Paul. We know what it was, but I assumed it had something to do with sleeping with his wife or something like that. What was it about?
Maybe.
It could have been about the landscaping.
Rand Paul is 3 feet tall. He's a little tiny person.
Yeah, he's a small man.
I could have inflicted this damage on him with a few punches, I think. He's just a tiny, tiny guy. I've met him, and I got to tell you, I didn't like him. You know how you have these gut feelings about people? I just thought, that dude is a dick. He's an asshole.
Did you tackle him, or did you have a feeling like you wanted to tackle him and just punch him?
No, it wasn't that bad. But what I'm trying to say is, maybe he's a dick, and maybe his neighbor got mad at him for something. So
for mowing his
lawn
the wrong way.
Not to justify tackling and punching. I'm not justifying it. And I honestly, it does seem like people on the left are angry, and I'm sure he knows that he's dealing with a senator from the right, so he probably hates him even more, and then something happened, and I mean, who knows, right? I guess we'll wait and see, but the other interesting thing about this story is that Rand Paul was mowing his own lawn.
Yeah, that's respectable.
Senator Rand Paul was mowing his own lawn. I live in California. I've never seen, since I moved here, I've never seen a person mow their lawn.
Well, California is like a different country.
It is weird. It is weird. I mean, in Minnesota, people mow their lawns all the time.
In America, we mow our own lawns. Right?
That's right. In America. In California, the Mexicans do it.
Correct. I'm sure Nancy Pelosi does not mow her own lawn.
No way. No way. So, but
him.
this is the second time that Rand Paul has been attacked this year.
Something's going on here.
Because
something's motivating people to attack him like this.
Well, I mean, he was at the baseball diamond when that guy was shot. And then now this. And you have to, and I asked myself at the time when the guy was shot at the baseball diamond, where's the security? And I have to say, Rand Paul is out in his yard mowing his lawn and doesn't have security. Where's his security?
Well,
Something's
again,
wrong.
I think when you're from a normal place, I don't think most people have such a flattering image of themselves that they think that security is required.
That's ridiculous.
You'd have to have a pretty inflated
He's
view
one of 100 people in the entire United States. 300 million people. He's 100 senators. He is an important person. He should have security. I don't understand. He should have 24/7 security. Anyway.
I'm trying to think of what would motivate me to tackle my neighbor. Well, what would he have to do?
I got yelled at a couple days ago by my neighbor for something I didn't do, something that another person did, but she thought I did, and that is put wrapping paper rolls in the garbage instead of the recycling bin.
Oh, that's a
right?
felony in California.
I was pulling out of my driveway, and she was like, "Did you do this?" And she's like freaking out, and I'm like, "No, that's not ours." And then later told me that our neighbor, the other neighbor, had asked if she could throw some stuff in our bin because it was the daughter of there was a woman who lived next to me who died, and her daughter was here cleaning out her house. And so she was running out of room, and we had a lot of extra room. And she asked, "Hey, can I put some of this stuff in your garbage bin?" So she put these old wrapping paper rolls in our garbage bin. And then our other neighbor saw that and flipped out because it should be in recycling. Or presumably that's why she was flipping out, because she didn't actually say anything. She was just like foaming at the mouth, upset about it, at seeing these rolls of wrapping paper in the wrong bin.
Wow.
And that is, that's my neighbor. That is my neighbor.
It's frightening that environmentalism is inducing this sort of psychosis where people think a piece of plastic in the wrong bin is somehow an existential threat.
Yeah. It is. If that doesn't show how religious this whole thing is, I don't know what does. I mean, recycling is a religious ritual anyway.
That's right.
There's no actual practical value to recycling. And I mean, you could say that to your blue in the face to any environmentalist and they would never admit it, but there's no value. It's actually
like eating a wafer at communion
or
whatever they do.
It's the wafer. There's no actual value. There's no nutrition in that wafer. There's no value in recycling. It actually, in fact, uses more energy to recycle than what we used to have, which is trash.
Right.
And that's a fact. And these people do it out of ritual to prove what a good environmentalist they are.
Right, they're eating.
I'm a good
wafer.
Catholic. I'm going to eat this wafer every Sunday.
And if you don't eat it right, or you don't say the right prayer,
or let's say you don't eat it, you don't go to you don't go to what is it, communion? What is it called?
I'm not sure.
Ashley, what is that?
Then you're a heretic.
Ashley, what is it?
I think it's communion.
Communion, yeah. So if you don't go to communion, you're not absolved of your sins. You're screwed. Anyway.
Right.
And this is it. So this woman was just, I didn't go to communion. I'm going to hell because I put wrapping paper in my garbage bin, or somebody else did. Anyway, she came over later and said it was this woman who was the daughter of the woman who died, and she was cleaning out the house. Like, she's telling me, so it was okay. Like,
because your motives, because it speaks to
in this
motive.
case, somebody freaking died. So she's going to give her a pass because she had a lot to throw away, and it's a death. So in this case, we'll forgive her for putting wrapping paper rolls in a garbage can.
Personally, I wouldn't forgive her. I wouldn't forgive for that. Well, it's like the church council meets.
My neighbor is nicer than
if you commit a sin, you commit a sin. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's a little hypocritical. All right. What's the next story, Ashley?
Backlash. Jim Beam boycott erupts after Mila Kunis Planned Parenthood donation stunt. Last week, the actress Mila Kunis told late-night host Conan O'Brien that she donates money to the abortion mill Planned Parenthood in Vice President Mike Pence's name every month. Kunis' pro-abortion stunt, as at the expense of pro-life Pence, has spurred calls to boycott whiskey company Jim Beam, for which Kunis is the global brand spokesperson.
So you can see, like, I was trying to get like a generic story on this, but you can see that I must have pulled this off a right-wing site because they called it an abortion mill.
That's not leading at all.
That's some non-objective reporting right
tell.
there. Abortion mill, Planned Parenthood. So yeah, okay. So are we boycotting Jim Beam? I do think that doing it in Mike Pence's name, like, I don't know, that's just mean. I think that, like, she says it, she's like, oh, it's not a prank, it's a protest. But that's just personal and mean. If you have a stance politically, fucking suck it up. Take responsibility for your own political stance. Don't hate on people who don't have the same political stance. And do mean things like donate to something that they would find so deeply offensive in their name. The left just thinks they can do anything at all.
Vicious.
They're just nasty. So when I'm in a bar and I order a whiskey sour, which happens, because that's actually one of my favorite drinks. Is that a girly drink, Doug?
I don't think so. Anything with whiskey is not a girly drink.
Oh, really? I mean, the sour mix, though.
Maybe the sour mix, but whiskey? I don't know many women that drink whiskey.
Well,
Like if you had a cranberry and vodka or something, that's more
I
of a
don't
girly
like vodka.
drink.
I have two drinks. The other one's probably girly. Gin and tonic.
Ooh, that's mine.
Is that girly?
That's gender neutral.
Gender neutral. And then the whiskey sour. And if I do order a whiskey sour, if I'm not going for like top shelf, I do get a Jim Beam. So I'm going to have to change that until they fire Mila Kunis. And I do think that people on the right should be participating in boycotts like this. I'm glad that people hurt Target when they opened up the girls' bathroom to every freaking pervert freak. And I'm not talking about transgender people. I'm talking about guys who are going to take advantage of the open bathroom policy to come in and prey on girls. So I was happy to see that Target actually got punished for that hard. And now they've made just like a bunch of gender neutral bathrooms. They've had to like walk back their stance that way.
You know, when I see Kunis or a leftist do something like this, it speaks to this idea that the left doesn't even regard people who have different opinions than them as reasonable. You know, they don't say, well, I have this view and this other person has this other view, so I'm going to do my own thing and support, the organization that I want to support. They have to take it to another level, which is to say that anyone who disagrees with me is evil, is outrageous, and to me, like a stunt like that is part of that kind of mindset.
If she had a talk show and she were doing stunts and pranks and things like that, that's maybe funny or okay, like to mock somebody for a position you think is mockable in a way that is kind of like a stunt or a prank. But she's just a leftist going about her life, donating to Planned Parenthood and doing it in such a way to deeply offend a religious person. That's the kind of person she is. I'm going to go out of my way to tell this person off. And it's not even like, I'm not even doing that for professional reasons or anything. I'm just, in my personal life, I want to be spiteful and vengeful. It's gross. So yeah, she should lose her job. That's my opinion about that.
She's not gross, personally.
No, she's not. I kind of like her too.
She's pretty hot.
Yeah.
But she's gross.
Gross. Yeah, that was gross. So anyway, do we have any more news stories, Ashley?
Nope, that's it.
I think that's the end. We're going to cut it off there. Thanks for joining us for our very first podcast. Next week, Again, we're going to have Bob Davis on the show. And he's always funny, good for laughs. And so we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to the House of Sunny podcast. Go check out Sunny on YouTube at her channel, House of Sunny. Everything Sunny does is fan-funded. And because she's likely to get kicked off and demonetized on every platform at some point, please support her over at patreon.com/HouseofSunny. Become one of Sunny's elite squad and have access to behind-the-scenes footage, t-shirts, special events, and more.